Hello and welcome. Thursday, 10 a.m. And it's time for a Facebook Live with me. What are we going to talk about today? I was sitting with that question and realized last week I talked about my online community and the membership that I have. And one of the things that I am planning to do there is, besides obviously having conversations, also posting links to explore certain things. And I just recently rewatched the movie My Octopus Teacher. When I did that, I suddenly remembered how I initially responded to even the beginning of the movie. It was sort of like, ugh, slimy, all those suction pots, and this time I became aware of where that was actually coming from. My mother had decided that fish were slimy. She was not going to touch any snakes, etc., etc. So when my kids were little and we were in a nature place, and they handed out a snake to hold, I really didn't want to pass that, my mother's fear of snakes, on to my kids. Because, first of all, I didn't have a fear of snakes out in the wild if I didn't have to touch them. But with touching them, there was still this background noise of what my mother felt a snake felt like. And to my surprise, it wasn't anything like that. And today I'm wondering, how much do we have those stories that are being passed down from our parents with, oh, this is that way and that is that way. And my friend, for instance, my friend Marianne, with whom I'm doing Facebook Lives on Tuesday, she talks about her mother having fear of animals. And so what if we are willing to suspend that? And as I was watching the movie, and this time, because it was the second time, it wasn't so much about what's the story, what's going on. I really saw how gentle, how much fine motoric the octopus had when touching the person. And it wasn't using the suction cups. And I was like, okay, there's a lot of assumptions that I have to let go of. And I don't know if I ever will have a chance to be in the water and touch an octopus. But the bigger lesson for me is, what if I let go of all the stories that are there, that I have inherited, that I have made up myself because of other people, etc., etc. And I posted the link to Netflix in the online community. This movie is really, for me, about receiving. And it's actually in both directions. The man receiving the octopus, fully receiving the octopus, and the octopus fully receiving the man. And how much is receiving part of learning from the earth? If we're not willing to receive anything, how can we learn from the earth? And even just looking at that particular movie, how much has the author learned from the octopus? How much was the connection with the octopus an invitation to learn more about the environment in which the octopus lives? And he also clearly showed how it was difficult for him to not interfere, but to let nature be nature when those sharks attacked the octopus. And how much do we have as humans that, I don't know what to call it, maybe superior attitude, that we need to interfere because we know better? What if the earth knows? And the earth is really interested in supporting life and is supporting life the non-existence of death? Or is that a conclusion that we have come to? That death is bad and that is not supporting life. So how are we with that? And what does that mean for us in being out in nature, in observing things in nature? How much is that impacting how we interpret things? Because we have certain expectations, certain conclusions. So can we start to play with that and start to let go of it and start to become present with it? See, that is one thing that I really want to address in the free part of the online community, as well as in paid aspects of the community. And how much can we learn by being fully present, by observing and allowing Earth to teach us? It's us becoming willing to acknowledge the fact that Earth is teaching us. I just hesitated because somebody asked me, would you like this as a title for a podcast? And my initial reaction was, no, you don't allow the Earth does. And yeah, me as a human am allowing the Earth. So what is possible there? And my teacher octopus, or My Octopus Teacher is the correct title, is actually one end of the spectrum that I would like to address. And there are other movies that I have seen. There are questions that I would like to pose where I really would like to take us to a different place of how we relate to the Earth. And I have gotten to experience that for the last year through my willingness, or not just willingness, through my interest in observing animals as a photographer and just being curious. And I remember that even when the weather was lousy and it was raining cats and dogs, I was sitting in the car every once in a while activating the windshield wiper so I could see out and observing two herds of elk interacting. And it taught me so much. And it's really part of why I posted the movie My Octopus Teacher. It's so much about being willing to receive. And that has changed for me so much that I have an easier time in communicating with animals, in being present with them, and having a different understanding. So what is possible there? where can we go? I mean, I have had experiences in the last year that if you would have told me even 5 years ago, I would have said, you're crazy, you're nuts. That's not possible. And yet, I've experienced them. So what if there is so much more possible than what we are thinking? And what invitation can I be to you? And what invitation can you be to other people as a result of? So let's explore this. And next week, I'll talk about a movie that is sort of on the other side of the spectrum that I also find very enlightening, important, educational, etc., whatever. So let's see what's possible. Take care. Bye-bye.